Welcome everyone to Dear BAMf. I'm Beck Bamberger. I am the CEO of BAM, which you just heard, and also run something called One Pitch, all in the PR marketing comms space. Today, we are excited. We got Julie Inouye here from VSCO. She's the Vice President of Communications and Social. So we're going to have some questions about that. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love it, and I'm excited to chat with you. You got also a lot of crisis comms in your background, too. So
I do.
I'm sure we'll have some stuff. Oh, you know what I just realized? You're also in chief?
I am.
Did we talk about this?
I think you found me on chief. Yeah.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Okay. Yay. That is right. We had a whole chat and our cohorts and what are we doing and all that stuff.
It's such a wonderful group.
It really is. Okay. We are not paid by chief, but seriously, anybody listening, ladies, you're in senior roles. You got to check out this thing. It's great.
I agree.
Yes. We'll have to send them this little clip afterwards. So great. Well, Julie, first off, for people who maybe aren't familiar with the app, VSCO, can you give us kind of the soundbite on it?
Yeah, absolutely. So VSCO is a mobile app for self-expression. It's where people come to edit, and make professional grade sort of edits to photos and videos, and they do it all from their mobile phone. And the thing that I think really differentiates us is that it offers access to one of the most unique, vibrant creator communities around the world. It's a platform where there's no public likes, no comments, no follower count. So It really is this inclusive space where people can, really come as they are and share the things that matter to them without the judgment that typically will come from being on other social platforms.
Yes, I use it actually. And I love it.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah. It's fun. There's a lot of things you can do. And it feels like, oh, this is where professionals come, which I am not, by the way. But that is my feeling when I'm on there. I'm like, ooh, look at me. Fancy.
Yeah, no, I think that's the beauty of it is you can make professional looking photos and not be a professional.
Yes, I do like it. Julie, what are you most proud of in accomplishing in the last, let's say, 12 months? That was kind of in pandemic time. We want to highlight you.
I mean, look, I think there's so much to pick from because I feel like we experienced 10 years of life in this past 1 year.
Yes, we have.
But I will tell you, this is a professional one, but, with all the social unrest and the just so much going on in the world, I'm really proud that we were able to, at VSCO, support a campaign called Black Joy Matters. And this is indicative of also, another point that's really important is that you have to hire people who represent diverse voices. And the campaign was originated from a Black leader that we hired at VSCO. Her name's Siobhan Charles. And while all the protests were going on after sort of the summer timeframe, we felt it was important to expand on the conversation because so much of the social unrest was focused on the trauma aspect of the Black experience. And being a visual platform, we used the opportunity to show joy and self-care and Black success. And we used the platform to really hopefully spread some understanding and awareness around the full lived experiences of Black creators, not just the trauma that typically gets covered in the news.
Yes. We had a whole session on Black Joy, actually, at our company for one of our DEI sessions to highlight that instead of the trauma and what is negative and unjust.
It was powerful, and just so much created so much needed dialogue. I think that doesn't always sort of come about naturally when you're talking about the activism part of it. So, super proud of that campaign, and it's something that we hope to do more of, obviously, this year too.
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Well, that might lead to the next question here of just what's the favorite way you storytell now? Obviously through visuals.
Yes. It's an easy one for us, I think, because I work for a visual company and I think so much gets told. What's the phrase? A picture is worth 1,000 words. I really do believe it. And I think the mediums are getting so much more interactive and accessible for folks. And so your ability to tell a story, whether you're one solo person telling your story, or it's a company or a community of people. I think people are getting really, really creative with using imagery, music, video, graphics, and not just spoken word. And I think it's one of the favorite things that I have experienced just being in comms and
Mhm.
working at a company like VSCO, to just think about that visual element of telling your story in a way that I haven't probably before in other jobs.
Mhm. By the way, can we talk about what the Visco girl meme thing? I'm reading this in the TechCrunch piece. Now, this is from a few years ago. So, but tell us a little bit about that.
It's it was a summer meme. We
Uh-huh.
were sort of brought into, an archetype of what a Gen Z
Girl, looks
girl
like.
looks like, and it turned into sort of like a fashion archetype, right? You've got your scrunchie, your hydro flask, but if you really dig into the origin of it, it's coming from a place where a lot of these high school girls were sharing their love of Visco, and I believe they were doing that because they were able to show their authentic self using the Visco platform and the tools, and
Mhm.
it just became part of this much larger sort of trend and meme that got away from us. But it completely organic. It's not something that the company
No,
pushed
that's the
for or
stuff you can
started.
manufacture.
Yeah,
Heck
yeah.
no.
Yeah, but but I think that's what it reinforced for us, just the rabid love I think people have for the platform, and just this, again, freedom from judgment, that they get to just be who they are. And I loved sort of the ethos around even the meme. It was like, take me as I am. Like, I don't care if
Mhm.
I like scrunchies. I don't care if my clothes are boxy and unisex. Like, it had
Mhm.
very much that
Birkenstock
attitude. And
sandal.
yeah,
Mhm.
so, and it's like all, they were very earth friendly. Like, it was social cause oriented. So I don't know. I think it's a very positive association, but that definitely is the origin. I believe is just the fact that we've created this space that people could come and just be who they are.
Gosh, is that not every marketer's dream?
Yeah,
A
I
cohort
mean, if
of,
you could, yeah.
I mean, that's the dream. You have a socially inclined group of very coveted demographic harking your wares. Like, amazing.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
happily, like in a positive light too, by the way. I have to say, like, this is all in a very positive, like they're wearing scrunchies and they got a cute backpack. I mean, it's very like, yay.
I mean, the thing that's been really great though is it has sparked a conversation around the impact of social media, and
Yes.
what it means to be a platform where you create an inclusive space for such young creators, and the responsibility of platforms to, again, protect that space.
Did you see that recent Dove campaign that got a lot of coverage on the reverse selfie?
Oh, I haven't. I'm going to have to go
Oh,
look for it.
God, yes. I mean, Dove's been pushing the envelope for now several years on
I agree.
body image and facial image. Anyway, they take I mean, she looks like a girl, like a 12-year-old perhaps. And they reverse in this little 30-second commercial spot a selfie, all the way back to the face of the girl with nothing on. And so you really see like all the editing and all the lipstick and all the things that are just so fake about selfies. So it's an anti-selfie campaign.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, our CEOs uses this analogy quite a bit, actually. The
Mhm.
lens that you get on Visco is, it's not the selfie view, it's the outward view. So
Yeah.
if, teens are on Instagram, it's very, how they want the world to see them. And then on Visco, it's what they see in the world.
Mm.
And you get a
Mhm.
lens of what they see, and you can actually do side by comparisons and actually see that difference.
Mhm. Oh, what a fascinating time to be at such a company. My goodness. Well, Julie, we have some questions here. So I'm going to get into the first one. Dear BAMf, my company is gearing up to launch a new website equipped with a rebrand and new messaging around our products. The executive team is eager to, quote, make a big splash around this campaign with our PR efforts, yet I know a rebrand isn't exactly news. I'm under pressure to share other ideas and avenues that will help us get more eyes on the company website and product descriptions after this launch. What are some things I can consider suggesting?
Um, these prompts are great. I always love when executives think PR and comms is a light switch. You just turn it
Yeah.
off. You turn it on and all of a sudden the press will come. And I think it's important to remind folks that there's always a lead up. It's relationship building. It's creating reasons for reporters to care. It's earned media for a
Mhm.
reason. And I would ask another question of this person who asked, which is like, what is the ultimate outcome they're trying to drive? Because I think big splash means multiple things. Is that PR coverage? Is that conversation? Is that call to
Yeah.
action? Like, what is
Yeah.
it that the company is really trying to achieve, and what business outcome are they trying to drive? And I think that will allow the team to like better direct that energy and create success metrics that are much more aligned to what outcome the team's trying to drive. So beyond all of that, if the outcome is driving coverage, I think a couple ideas could be, launching the brand with news. So create some,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
do some data, a poll or a survey or some kind of release new research that reinforces the rationale for the brand change. You want it to be more accessible, then like create some data around that, or whatever the reason is for the brand change. I think if you've got data to back it up, that always helps with sort of getting some news coverage. And then the other thing I was going to say is just thinking about it not as one big splash, but multiple splashes. And so, like, creating programming that allows you to continue to tell a story. So, if there's a reason around why there's a brand, like, present a playbook or a plan that kind of creates multiple drops throughout the
Mhm.
year, so that you're not hanging on one big splash.
Yes. Gosh, there's nothing like the one big thing, and you got to get all the things, and that's the only moment in the whole entire year. Oh, God. Yes, I agree with everything you've said, particularly the attaching of the refresh to actually something hard in
Mm-hmm.
terms of news. We just had this conversation with another startup, and they said, "Oh yeah, we're having our rebrand fresh and whatever, and oh, but we raised $110 million." It's like, okay, well, that's the hard news.
Yep.
Then the backup is here's this brand that's gotten redone, okay, but in tandem, that's juicier than just here's our new logo. The exception being, and this is probably not in a positive light, but if your Airbnb
Oh, yeah.
side and you change your logo and it's a controversy, that's the other side of the coin that you really don't want to be on that for that. That was
No.
a lot of negative press, I would
Well,
say.
I mean, and it's funny to me because I
So
wonder
funny.
too, the chatter around the logo is probably what caused the coverage. So again,
Exactly.
going
Exactly.
back to my earlier point, I think it really matters what you're trying to drive. What action are you trying to drive? So for me, I talk to my team a lot. I mean, especially with the pandemic going on and trying to get airtime when everyone is really exhausted and there's so much going on in the world. Cracking that threshold to get covered is really hard. The bar has been set even higher, I think I would say in today's
Oh, yes.
environment.
Yes.
And so we've started to pivot really, like I use the analogy a lot of setting up a meal.
Mhm.
And what previously the entree would be earned coverage is now more of a side dish to me, and the entree is more of
Mm.
your own programming. How are you going to use your own channels
Mhm.
to create video coverage, or use your Instagram handle? Like, this is also again another reinforcement of like feeding the beast and making sure that you
Yep.
are spending the resources to build a social footprint and building community. And I guess this is obviously a lot harder if you don't have a creative community or like a user
That's true.
community,
Yeah.
but I do think that has shifted a lot of the way I've programmed my playbooks at
Mhm.
VSCO, especially during this time.
Mhm. And you used to be, Julie, as we heard about at LinkedIn, which is totally different, which is enterprise and much more, yeah, B2C, but employers, employees and selling the technology that gets people hired and so forth. So very different from an app that's consumer facing, especially for like Gen Z girls.
It's funny. It is wildly different, I think, from a demographic perspective, but
Mhm.
at the
Same
heart,
playbook though?
no, it's actually, well, so the core of LinkedIn's business is a consumer business, actually,
Yeah.
which is consistent with what VSCO does. But I think where it differs wildly is just the demographic. So, where I was working with, how to help you tell your professional story. How do you get a leg up on your career? How do you find that next job? How do you get that next promotion? I mean, these were the types of narratives and stories we were trying to reinforce through what LinkedIn offered. Whereas I think at VSCO, it's really about your own self-expression and telling your story and being authentic and, doing it in a way where you're using our products to tell that story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it was a big jump. It's a culture shock because what matters to a millennial and I'm not a millennial. I think what is the next one is Gen X.
Yeah.
I
We're next.
what motivates that demographic, and we're sort of the core audience group on LinkedIn, is not what motivates this Gen Z cohort. And I've been blown away just by this idea that they're very much about the we versus the me, and they care deeply about social justice issues and causes, and they're making purchasing decisions based on that. They're going to companies they want to work for because of those things, and not taking jobs because of those things. And so I think they just behave very differently than previous sort of generations in the way they
I agree.
they make decisions.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting to see the evolution on that front. What's the next generation? Anyway, we okay. I don't even know if they're defined yet. Okay, next question, Julia. I was getting sidetracked. My startup, excuse me, my startup has a lot of really incredible big name customers that have used our product solution service for quite some time and are happy with the results. I'd love to connect them with my PR team to be leveraged for media opportunities, but a lot of them are hesitant to speak openly with the media. How can I do a better job to persuade them into being open to media opportunities on our behalf? Oh, do I not hear this all the time?
Oh, that's it's funny because I get it, and certainly we've had those customers too. I mean, anyone in the financial space too. There's a lot more rigid rules around it as well, so they
Mm-hmm.
can't speak on it. But I would say you give them a soft landing. So instead of putting them in front of a reporter opportunity right out of the gate, what if you packaged up a written draft of a case study type of
Mm-hmm.
written material? I mean, if you've got money to spend behind it, you can put some paid social ads against it. Or you could, pitch that asset or case study to a reporter that'd be willing to take a byline or something. So it's a little bit more controlled. I think what people get really nervous about is just, oh, are they going to ask me about 20 other questions that I don't want to address?
Yes.
And I think this creates that first sort of like easy sort of entry step into it. And I think as the customer gets more exposure, which is what's going to happen, is they're going to benefit from it too. You
Mm-hmm.
can start to seed in some of these other more meteor opportunities. But I always try to create that soft landing if I can.
Yes. It's so important when we're vetting potential clients. We'll ask them, hey, okay, so you're B2B focused, you got big enterprise clients, great. Yeah. How many of them are ready to talk to the media if we called them like today and said, hey, here's a Bloomberg opportunity? Oh, yeah, we have some people. Oh, for sure. Oh, they'd love to talk about us. I'm like, but wait a second. You haven't ever asked them. So not just like, oh, my client's thrilled or the customer's thrilled about us, but more so suggesting what you are mentioning, Julie, which is easing them into it. Okay, you've already completed a case study
Yep.
with them. Easy. They loved it. They promoted it on their social channels. Great. The next easy ask can then go ladder up to,
That's right.
hey, do you want to be on this Bloomberg interview opportunity about us? But then you'll be able to talk about you. That's a way easier ask than coming in hot. Oh, hey, we're on deadline for the story. You want to talk to Wall Street Journal? That's gonna get the what? Huh? What? I mean, no. It doesn't ease them into, as you're saying, the soft landing. So work them up to it.
Yeah, I think that's right. And then the other thing I was going to say is you're going to have the other side, right, where
Oh
they're very,
yes,
very comfortable, and then you lose control of what message you're trying to get
that's
out there
also
as a company.
true.
So, I think you just have to have a balance. And I think this reinforces an earlier comment I think we had just talked about, which is
Mhm.
it's not a light switch. Like this stuff, you can't just do this overnight. I mean, if customer stories and having third-party references is an important part of the business and the playbook that you've put together for your clients. I would hope that some of this legwork is already being done before the ask comes across the desk. Because these things don't happen overnight, right? All of a sudden you decide that we're going to start having customers talk to reporters. Like there needs to be sort of a bank of these sort of like white glove experiences that are already in place. And it's no different from how we think about, like at VSCO, for instance, using creators for press stories. Like not everybody wants to hear from our CEO, and that's totally okay. They want to hear from our users, and you're going to want to have sort of a bench of people you've built a relationship with.
I'm sensing the theme of relationships here.
I'm big on relationships, and I think
Me too.
I think it's key, and it's also one of the reasons why I love working with reporters, because I think that's the basis for any good PR reporter exchange, is that relationship.
Yes, so agree. Yes. My additional comment on this, in this particular person's situation, they mentioned, like, how can I do a better job to persuade them to being open? So just to add to that, to ask somebody, hey, will you do this thing for me? That's a hard ask in a sense, because if I have time, is it really important to you? Hey, I'm running my company over here. That's less convincing than, hey, happy client, customer, I have a really great opportunity with a top tier media outlet, which will get your name in the press as well on behalf of us. Yes, that's the goal. But hey, there's an opportunity for you to make a relationship with the journalists as well. It's in the same space that we obviously operate in. I'll send you all the prep notes. So what's in it for them, basically?
I think you're totally right.
What's in it for them? So that you're not just making that, oh, please, would you talk to the journalists? They're on a deadline. That's a hard ask at the 11th hour.
Yeah. Especially if they're already reserved about doing it.
Very much so. So I like the bank, and keep that bank warm. Keep it warm. Okay, we got our last question here, Julie. Dear BAMf, I work on the marketing team at a small early stage startup. Part of my role is helping our CEO expand his thought leadership and build his personal brand. He recently asked about Clubhouse as a platform for engaging with other thought leaders. I've used Clubhouse a couple of times, but really know nothing about it in depth. Any advice on how to either get my CEO involved, or advice on how to communicate to him that my time supporting him is better used leveraging existing platforms that have been working historically? Ooh, Julie.
I have so many follow-up questions, actually.
I know.
Because the way this is positioned, I'm curious if the person who's asking this is saying this because it's something they don't understand and they're resisting it. Or is it that they don't agree with the strategy and they're trying to create understanding with the CEO? So I think those two things the response to that would be very different. So I can try to tackle the first one, which is,
let's do it.
If it's about your own lack of understanding of the platform, I would say throw yourself into the deep end. Like, one of the things that I have learned in tech is you've got to pay attention when people around you, the tastemakers that are around you, are talking about some new hot thing. Or, I did this at LinkedIn all the time. Anytime any of the product leaders would mention an app they were like playing around with, I would download it immediately. And it might not stay on, it might not stay on my home screen, but I would give it a whirl. I would give it the 2-week trial. And just so that I could say I've tried it, I've done the onboarding, and so that the next time it comes up, I'm that much more credible in providing commentary, whether it's positive or negative. But not trying it is not a good excuse. So I think there's that piece that I would say is just lean into it and participate in the conversation, which is always helpful. And if you're doing your job really well, you're going to be suggesting those new platforms to your CEO, not just taking his or her lead.
That's right.
The second tangent on it, which is if you don't agree with the approach, I think it goes back to the earlier comment about just asking that larger, what are we trying to solve question? Because I I always find people have an idea, like I would be a millionaire for every time someone I've worked with has said, I need a press release on X,
Yeah.
or I need a press event for this launch. And when you really take the pause to ask like deeper questions about what problem we are trying to solve or what objective we're trying to reach, you realize that what they're really asking for is something wildly different. that
Hmm.
that sometimes a press release or a press event isn't going to actually get them. And I think that discovery and that conversation is really helpful, because it's also partly like helping to educate the CEO as well about the different Chinese menu of options that we have to get to the outcome being, comms and marketing pros.
Hmm. Hmm. Ooh, I very much agree with you on the being ahead of it, being 3 steps ahead, if you can, before you have executive team members saying, should we be on this thing? By the time they're asking that, it's already probably older, old, dead, possibly waning. I'm looking at a Fast Company article right now that's like, yeah, is Clubhouse dead? I mean, it's just, yeah, this is in May, and it just said, okay. Instead for you to be like, oh, hey, CEO, yeah, have we looked at Hotline yet? I want to see if we're talking, are we on Reddit Talk? What about Spaces? Twitter just launched that. Like, if you're constantly ahead of it, then that positions you in the proactive seat instead of the reactive seat of like, oh God, now, maybe do I have to do this? So for this person, because it looks like they're in the reactive seat right now, turn it around.
Yeah.
Be on top of it. Be like, hey, guess what? These 3 new platforms launched. I'm watching this one in particular because it really is getting to our demographic of
Yep.
Gen Z users. I'm going to keep monitoring it. I'll let you know when I
Yep.
think there may be a chasm moment where you should then participate or our brand should participate. Now you don't get the questions. Now you're not on the back foot. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, the only other thing I would add is, I've heard this as well, which is, Julie, it's just so exhausting to stay on top of everything. And
That's
I,
your job.
I, well, partly, yes, it is your job. I think secondly, though, I would say there are different ways to get it done, right? So for me, if I can't play with every app that's like hot and new, I keep tastemakers around me.
That's
You get that person who just loves being an early adopter. They're around. They're probably in your agency. They're probably at the company you work for. You've got folks that are just early adopters of everything. Like, befriend them,
Mhm.
ping them the next time you so and so app is out there. Like, hey, what do you think of this thing? And
Yeah.
they'll tell you right away what they think, what's good about it, what's bad about it, and you get instantly sort of educated. The other thing I
Mhm.
was going to say is follow really thoughtful commentators on this stuff on Twitter. A
Yes.
lot of them happen to be journalists, and they are not shy
Taylor Lorenz,
about,
New York
yeah.
Times. I loved her piece on Chuji. You don't want to be in that camp.
You just
Oh God.
they're not shy about it. So
No,
following those threads are massively helpful too, so that at least you're coming in, to your point, on the front foot and not the back.
that's right. Yeah, my comment too. Oh, it's so much work to stay on top. Yes, that's why there's people employed for just these roles. That's your job, to stay on top of the things. Oh, there's so many reporters, there's so many journalists going on. Yes. Yes, you are in charge of relationships with journalists. Like, yes. I just want to emphasize that point. Yeah, that's why you're in that role. But that said, that's not, let's say, the CFO's role. That's not the CEO's role necessarily, unless they have a interest in that, okay, or a teenager who's filling them in with all these things all the time. But just to keep in mind the areas of what you should be focusing on. So if
Yes, of
that is your
course.
role and you're in charge of social, you're in charge of marketing, yeah, you should be reading up on all that stuff and following other
Yeah.
people on Twitter and interacting and having your hive mind and all these. Yeah, that's your job. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think, everyone will come up with their short list of things they do in the morning. I have
Mm-hmm.
my own personal morning routine, right? Of,
Ooh, what is it, Julie? Let's talk about that real quick. Real quick, I want to know.
Well, I mean, the first thing I check, obviously, I will check my Slack and my email. So
Yeah.
whatever you're doing at your company, that the main sort of mode of communication. And then I'm
Yep.
on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I check Tech Meme. I check all of my
Mm-hmm.
newsletters. But it's like it's gotten down to a point where it's like a 20, 30 minute rotation every morning, and you're done, and you've gotten your fill of like, okay, I've got a good sense of what is going on in the world this morning.
Yep.
And you might miss stuff, but you've got a pretty good sense, and then you're able to start your day. So from like 6 a.m. to 6:30, that is my routine.
Nice. Okay, so very
Yeah.
defined time. Okay.
Yeah, and I follow, like the information is I pay for that
I
personally.
love it. Me
And
too.
I've been paying for it for a while, and I think they do a really good job of, going deep, but also providing high level like touch points on things that are going on in the industry. I also love Axios. They do really good job
Yep.
on like snippets. And then I follow other sort of newsletters like Skim and other things just to make sure that I'm kind of covering all the bases. But yeah, I do enjoy. And then Twitter obviously is a great place to just kind of do a pulse check. And then tech meme. People love and hate tech meme, but it serves its purpose, which is, in that moment, what's top and of mind. And it's been massively helpful for my career. So I check tech meme as well.
Yeah, although, man, that thing looks still like straight out of Craigslist to me. But you know what? God bless it. It does put all the things there, and that is helpful.
Yeah.
Including tweets, including upcoming tech event. Hey, you gotta like it.
Yeah. So I mean, it sounds like I just listed so much stuff, but once you get into a routine, it's actually very quick.
Yeah, no, I get it. You do the rundown. I have a rundown too, so totally get it. I like it. Well, Julie, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, it's
Such
been
a
a delight.
pleasure.
Yeah.
This has been great. We had some hairy questions, but problems getting solved. And I just appreciate it. And I can't wait for the next meme to come out.
I hope it's just as friendly as it's been in the years past.
Oh, I think so. Yes. I'm dreaming of it for the summer. I love it.
Well, thank you so much. It's been so fun to talk through all of this stuff. It actually made me energize me a little bit to have to think on my feet. So thank you.
Yes. Excellent, Julie. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Dear BAMf, the advice podcast for PR and marketing pros like you. Our show was created by BAM, a PR and marketing agency headquartered in San Diego and New York City. The music you're enjoying today was composed by Tiffany Dizon, produced by Daniel Kessner, and played by San Diego Symphony's Art of Milan. If you have a tough PR and marketing question you'd like us to answer, write to us at bamtheagency.com/Dear BAMf. Don't forget the F. If you'd like to get notified of our latest episodes, subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We'll be back next Monday with another episode of Dear BAMf. Until then,